go. Let's see what that does. There should be a live stream going on right now. Looks like there is. All right there, Bobby. I believe there's a live stream going. Yeah. All right. It's happening now. Motor mouth mall stepping I got down.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, good. Yeah, that'll, 5S units, not quite 5S units. I mean, that'll kind of give me an idea of the overall tonal balance anyway. Won't be able to really hear how much detail's coming through, as far as crispiness and stuff like that. But, yeah, I'll take a listen to it, when I get a chance. But, yeah, looking forward to tomorrow morning when we can get a little bit better signal strength.
All right, sure. Now, if I was going to nitpick anything at all, I would say somewhere around 1 kilohertz. There might be a need for a cut. Not a wide cut, not a broad cut, but a small, narrow cut somewhere around 1K. It gets ever so slightly peaky. I don't know what frequency specifically, but let's listen to your monitor, and there's something in there that gets just a little bit peaky in there, somewhere around 1K.
All right, yeah, I'm doing a cut at 1 kilohertz. I could pull that down a little bit more, so let me get in there and pull that back and see what it does.
Okay.
Okay, so I was pulling 11 dB out at 1K, and I just dropped it another dB, so now we're taking out 12 dB. That make any difference right there?
You know where it is? It's not in the fundamental stuff. It's in the tail. It's in the tail. Let me play this back for you one time here. Check this out. Hang on. Hang on. Where are you? Right here.
7 dB out at 1K, and I just dropped it another dB, so now we're taking out 12 dB. That make any difference right there?
Here, and there's something else going on in my playback. Hang on. There's something that's being accentuated that shouldn't be, like an RF feedback. Kind of a little bit of a... Drop my carrier down here a little bit here. I don't need all this up in there. Hold on. I gotta drop that down. About here somewhere like that. Let me go down lower. All right. Anyway, I'll drop my carrier down, but yeah, there's something in my playback that sounded, oh, it might have been what my monitor coax is here. Hold on. Might have been my monitor coax. It does weird things depending on where I set it from time to time. My playback might have been colored a little bit, but anyway, there you go. Let me play this back one more time.
7 dB out at 1K, and I just dropped it another dB, so now we're taking...
Hear the is a tail of about somewhere around 1K. There's a tail in there.
Okay, so it sounds like something in there as far as like there's just a little bit too much mid-range in there. Maybe if I widen up the Q.
Kinda, but I like the mid-range on the attack and the fundamental in the body. It's the mid-range in the tail I don't like.
All right, so I made another little move, and I was low shelving at 197 hertz, and I moved that up to 200 hertz. I know that's going to thin it out a little bit, but what did that do?
Actually, that sounds pretty good. Let me play that back.
All right, so I made another little move, and I was low shelving at 197 hertz, and I moved that up to 200 hertz. I know that's going to thin it out a little bit, but what did that do?
Well, I don't know that it thinned it out too much, but it still sounds good. I can't really put my finger on it.
Okay, yeah, well, we're pretty far apart, so it might be making it just a little bit tough. It's hard for me because on the playback, I'm getting that little extra added compression on the playback, so that's throwing me off. I mean, it sounds like the bottom end's doing something weird on the playback, and I don't know if that's actual. But as far as the mid-range, I can't really hear it well enough to hear what exactly it is that you're saying. Let me take a quick little pause and listen to the gate. Maybe I can get a little bit better idea of what it's doing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, yeah, I listened to the gate. It's not really a strong enough signal for me to be able to hear it. It does sound a little bit on the mid-rangey side. I put everything back, or I put that shelf back down to 197 hertz. But I did take a little bit more out of 1K and then actually narrowed up the Q slightly. So I don't know if you're still hearing that little mid-rangey thing in there.
Maybe move that 1K up. Maybe slightly slide. Maybe while you're talking on a count of 1 through 10, move it up from 1K to 2K and then back to 1K again. Let me see if it makes a difference.
problem with the way this audio chain is set up. I got this this other plug-in in here, this de-hum plug-in in here, and it's very, very taxing on the computer. So if I have that EQ open, it'll start dropping out. It'll start overloading. So I can't really do that. I gotta go. I don't have to close the screen. I just need to get off of the EQ because it's just taking too much power. But now I moved it up from 1K to 1100 hertz. What did that do? That make it worse right there?
No, it fixed it. It got rid of it. Now it sounds good, the big.
Okay, let me take a quick listen on the gate and see what that sounds like.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so I listened to it, and it does sound better. It seemed like that 1K was just a little bit too low. I think that resonating frequency in my voice was right about 1100 hertz or so. So yeah, that's cool. And I left that bottom shelf. You know, I'm working in my first equalizer, so it's going to be changing things all the way down the chain. Unfortunately, my first EQ is where I'm doing, all that big old bass cut and everything. And to me, on the gate, it did sound a little bit better. I mean, it sounded a little more open, a little more natural. It kind of had that little honkiness in there, just a little bit, when I was taking out 1K. But it seems like 1100 hertz is probably the better choice there, Tim4.
Yep, I would say so. It definitely has that nice, crisp, clean, full, still rich, good quality sound to it. So I like that myself. So yeah, I think that's a good place there. I like that session.
All right, it did get a little bit brighter too, I noticed. It's hard to tell if it got louder. I can't tell on your end or on the gate, but it did seem to kind of unmask some of the the higher mids, the upper mids, and the top end. Do you hear any sibilance coming in there with the S's? Did that peak it out too much? Is it starting to get disproportionate with the rest of the audio?
Negative. Nope. S's are good and clean and crisp and clear. They're proportionate to the rest of the audio. The loudness issue, that's an interesting issue because loudness is loudness, yes, but there are two perceived, well, there's more than that, but there's two, in what we're talking about right now, there's two different perceived loudnesses. There's the loudness of the fact that you've got more mids and articulate highs, that gives it a little bit more pop and presence in your ear, which can be perceived as loudness. But then there's the other loudness, which is, due to average percentage of modulation, and that's loudness that is density. And what you've done, I believe, is you've given up a little bit of the density and traded for the better quality, crisp, clear articulation in the mids, which, especially in a communication sense, it makes you sound louder. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that makes sense. But it did seem to lose a little bit of the lower fullness, I think. But I can always. Well, I don't know. I'm not getting the live audio like you are. Did it seem like the bottom end kind of got a little bit thinner, or does it still sound like there's enough bottom end in there?
It's funny because there's actually, in a way, there's more bottom end. Because what's happening, and I think you heard this on the playback, but it might be accentuated because of the slightly bit of compression and clipping that I have on the playbacks to avoid overmodulation and that kind of thing. The bass has a growth in the bottom of it that gives the illusion of it having more bass than it does. Now, you may have a less bassy content, but it sounds equally as big and bassy as it did before because of the swell and the growth in that bass. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, when the phasiness in an equalizer, it'll mask and do some weird things, as you well know. And once you start getting that phasiness out of there, some of those frequencies are definitely going to pop a little bit more than they did before. So yeah, yeah, that's good. So overall, does it sound like it's dynamic enough, or does it still sound, like it's got a little bit too much compression and a little bit on the, sounding flat?
Nope, no problem at all with too much compression. It does not sound anywhere near flat. There's enough dynamic range. And we're talking about dynamic range. There's two types of dynamic range. There's dynamic range that gives you the ability to have inflections in voice. And there's dynamic range where if you were to turn your head from the microphone like that, do you hear a loss in quality, or when you're playing with the proximity effect, do you lose an appreciable amount or any kind of density as you get away from the mic? And you may not have enough compression to fix that, but you don't want to fix that. If you fix that, you would be dealing with more noise and background noise and problems. The amount of compression and density you have to make your audio sound psychoacoustically good and loud and strong and punchy is there. And it doesn't sound like a flat wall. It doesn't sound like you're up against just like, all the time. It sounds good.
10-4, okay. Yeah, that was pretty much the question I was asking, because in the audio digital realm, with all the compression I'm running, it's still going to look like a boxcar, and you could probably see that. It's probably not as boxcar-like as it was in the past, because I'm running roughly about half the compression I was running before. But yeah, just the overall illusion of sounding dynamic is really what the question was. Not dynamic range as far as quiet sound to the loudest sound, the typical definition of dynamic, but that dynamic kind of sound. It sounds like it's pretty close, so yeah, that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The fact that you're out there at 5 units or just under 5 and fluctuating around 5, and there's a little bit of a noise floor, and I hear what I hear right now, there's no question in my mind that if you were at 9 or 10 over 9 or you're way up in the receiver, you would sound phenomenal. I mean, there's no question in my mind. You already sound good as it is. People would go nuts to have that audio, but no, it's perfect. I really don't think you can strive for too much more. You certainly cannot do any better on the high end. The highs are articulate, they're cutting, they're crisp, they're clean. There's no sibilance or there's no horrible harshness. The bass is clean, and the balance of tonal characteristics from the bass to the highs is good. The reverb is not overkill or obnoxious, but you can tell it's there. It's the kind of reverb where if you took it away, it would sound too flat. You need it. It's got to be there. So I think it's an integral sound, or an integral part of the sound that you have going on right now. So I like it. I wouldn't change anything at all.
Yeah, 10-4. Okay. Well, I'll leave it where it's at. I'll take a listen. I'll throw the cans on here in a little while and take a listen to hear the change that was made from that 1K to that 1100 hertz cut. I'm curious to what that sounds like, from what I'm used to hearing. That's the problem. We get used to hearing problems. We no longer hear a problem. And it's always good to get feedback. So yeah, I'll throw the headphones on and have a listen to it in a little while, and that way I can kind of adjust my brain to what I'm hearing in my headphones in relation to what's being heard out there. But yeah, I get what you're saying, as far as basically being down in the mud as far as signal strength, but still coming through, to be intelligible. So that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, and I took off my headphones. I listened to the speaker. In the room here, you sound incredible. I put the headphones back on. I put one ear on, took one ear off. Sounded really, really good. Your signal strength, for whatever reason, has dropped down to about 4 units. So even though the signal strength dropped, the quality and the characteristics remain the same. And there's somebody out there throwing a little bit of a carrier out there, but it's not hindering you at all in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, it sounds good. And by the way, I'm talking about 8 or 10 inches away from the mic right now, and if I get up on top of the microphone, does that make any difference at all? I don't want it to get too growly or garbly, but I'm up on top of the microphone now. I'm on the pop screen about 2.5 inches, 2 inches away from the element. So what does that do there, Break?
It started to, when you got way up on the mic, it started to overload the bottom end just a little bit. Now, I would say about halfway between being up on the mic and where you were is probably really, really good as far as getting the proximity effect correct with the audio chain you got going. Yeah, my signal strength dropped because a truck pulled in and parked right next to me, and it's directly blocking my antennas from line of sight to where you are. So yeah, I dropped down in the mud just a little bit. You did too on this end. So yeah, it did overload a little bit when you got up on the mic. I would try 3 or 4 inches.
All right, let me get up on about halfway. It was about 4 inches away right there. And it sounds clean still in the headphones. That's 4 inches and talking quietly and right next to the microphone. So, well, not right next to it, but 4 inches away. And that should sound pretty good. Bobby Booshay, Motormouth Mall. Sally sells seashells down by the seashore.
I don't know, John. I can't tell. I'm getting so much noise in my receive all of a sudden. I mean, there's too much crap in the atmosphere with these lines, and I don't know what this guy's got in his truck that's causing more. Sometimes these trucks, they'll pull up next to me, and they've got some kind of electromagnetic noise emitting device or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's happening right now, and I'm in a position right now where I can no longer tell you what's going to be better or what's going to be worse. I mean, I'm getting in, but I can't hear the detail.
Roger, okay. Well, I can tell our signal's definitely getting worse. Our path is not as good. And tell you what I'll do. I'll just leave things the way they are right now, and I'll stop the gate, and then we'll start another one in the morning. And I'll wait till you start coming towards Santa Maria and you start pointing my way, and we get a little bit better opportunity there at fuller scale conditions. Yeah, for now I'm going to shut this thing off. I'm burning up quite a bit out here yapping, trying to get my signal as strong as I can to where you are. And I didn't go so far as to move the antennas, and neither one of them are pointed where they should be. I got the jam pros pointed due east and west, north and south, so it's missing you. And the beam is pointed into Florida, so I'm transmitting on the beam. So I'm on the back. I'm not even transmitting on the jam pros. So it would take too much to move the antennas around. So I think for now we'll just call it quits, and then I'll catch up in the morning, and I'll be back out here on the band at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'll reconnoiter on this dream. Sounds good. All right. And in the meantime, don't lose what you got right now. What you got right now is perfect. It sounds absolutely beautiful. And I don't. You got to figure too. What you get set up that sounds good at 5S units may not be the settings that you want to use when you're talking to somebody at 30/9. There's still the hope that one and the same, or one setting will work with both degrees of signal strength, but there's always the chances that you might have two different sessions that you use, not based on who you're talking to, but based on the signal strength, because the filters and the roll-offs, the characteristics of the receivers at different levels may very well be different, and your signal right now sounds phenomenal at 5, and so we'll see how it does at 9 over or 10/9 or whatever. And but yeah, don't change anything. I like it.
Yeah, I'll say what it is. I have the original one I first started talking to you on too, and so it'd be interesting to do a back-to-back comparison on you too. So yeah, I'll go ahead and say what I got right now, and it'll be here, and that's what I'll use first thing tomorrow.
Oh, wait. Before you go then, while your signal is down here where it is now, can you switch? Can you switch to the one that you were on the last time so I could hear it at least against this one at the weak conditions?
Yeah, let me save this one real quick so that I have something to come back to. So just give me about 1 minute or so.
Okay, sounds good. I'll be here.
Okay, so we're still on the modified one, and got that all saved. And so giving you just a little bit of audio in there so you can get a back-to-back comparison, and now I'm going to switch it over. Okay, we made the switch, and this computer's being buggy. I don't know. I got to look into it. But this is the original one I was talking to when I first got here. And so this is the only difference between the two is between the difference of 1K cut, 1100 hertz cut. And let me switch back. Okay, now we're switched back to the modified version. Yeah, what kind of difference are you hearing in there?
The modified version is better, and let me now that's you switch back to the one that you were on the last time you were in town.
Yeah, 10-4. Let me pull that one up. Okay, this is the one I was using last time I was here. Exactly. This is the one I was using last time I was here in town. And this one's got all kinds of issues, man. But yeah, so there should be a pretty big difference there. What do you think?
All right, so the one you're on today, the one that you were on last, the one that I like the best is the 1100K cut. On today's version, the difference is subtle, but nevertheless, the one that you were last on, the one that you were on the last time you were here in town, it has a little bit more compression in the upper mid-range. You can tell it's a little bit more in your face, a wall. It has less life to it, less dynamics to it. And I'm going to play the whole thing back. I know you're not going to get enough signal to do it, but I'm going to play the whole thing back and you can hear what it did. Let me see if I can, well, stop. Let me zoom in.
About 1 minute or so.
Hang on a second.
So just give me about 1 minute or so.
Where is it? Damn.
Okay, so we're...
Okay, here. Get rid of this.
One real quick so that I have something to the modified one, and I've got that all saved. And so giving you just a little bit of audio in there so you can get a back-to-back comparison, and now I'm going to switch it over. Okay, we made the switch, and this computer's being buggy.
Let me cut that out so you don't have to hear the mouse click. Okay, here goes.
And I've got that all saved, and so giving you just a little bit of audio in there so you can get a back-to-back comparison, and now I'm going to switch it over. Okay, we made the switch, and this computer's being buggy. I don't know, I got to look into it. But this is the original one I was talking to you when I first got here. And so
I hope you heard that. There was a definite switch between the two, and the fullness and the life that happened is good. Now my playback may have hid those the subtle characteristics, but I like it to bring.
Yeah, you know, John, I couldn't even hear any of that. There's just so much noise and crap going on over here. I can barely hear the playback, and as far as being able to tell when you switched, I couldn't even tell. But it'll be interesting in the morning. I'd definitely like to hear the difference there.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll definitely do that in the morning. I'm going to stop this gate right now and create some silence on here. By the way, Trev Dog, you said you're waving 4 friendly fingers and a thumb there to Bobby Booshay from Four Stroke. And I rolled that 5 and kept it all the way alive. And I am ready for recording on tomorrow's session there, so we'll do that when the time comes. In the meantime, in between time, have a good evening. I'm going to get out of here and go take care of some stuff in the house. And, yeah, I like the new session. I think it's a winner they're breaking.
Joe. All right, Motormouth Mall, I appreciate it, man. And, yeah, I'm waving back at that 4-stroke. And, yeah, we'll pick it up tomorrow and see what kind of sound we can get out of these things. But all right, yeah, I'm gonna get on the side too. I'm gonna put the cans on, take a listen, and see what I hear. But yeah, I won't lose anything. I'll leave everything where it's at, and we'll go from there.
10-4, sounds good. All right, catch you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Yeah, bye. So they say.
Roger, we'll see ya.